Welcome once again. We are back with Greg Engert, beer director for the Neighborhood Restaurant Group, which includes such places as Rustico and Tallulah. Greg, also a food and wine sommelier of the year, the only beer director so far to receive such recognition. What's on tap this week?
So this week, we have an amazing new beer, brand new, and a new year-round beer from the Green Flash Brewing Company out in Southern California. These guys have been brewing amazing beer since 2002. They've amped up production, so they've been in DC and Northern Virginia and Maryland for a long time, but it's been kind of spotty just because they couldn't keep up with demand this far away. But they've amped up production. We see a lot more of them. And what's great about this new beer, which is called Rayon Vert, is it's kind of a departure for them in many ways. Because we think Green Flash, typically I think we think of hoppy West Coast style beers. Think of the Hophead Red, which is an amazing hoppy amber that we serve consistently at Church Key. Or think of their West Coast IPA, which is just this really dry, lean, hoppy beer, or their Imperial IPA. But this is actually based on the Belgian tradition. And they've played around with this a little bit before with their triple. But in this case, this is really an homage to one of my favorite beers of all time, a beer called Orval, which is one of the remaining Trappist monastic brews from the province of Luxembourg in the south east corner of Belgium itself. And this is their homage to that. So Orval is a singular Trappist beer in that it's a kind of Saison farmhouse ale style. It tends to be rather dry and hoppy, and it's a little bit funky. And so with Rayon Vert, Green Flash is doing very similar things that they do over in Belgium with this beer. They start off with a semi-strong Belgian pale ale that's fermented with a Belgian ale yeast. That's what's going to give it its kind of fruity, spicy aromatics, kind of peppery, a little bit citric. It's a pale ale, so it's got some malt character, but then it finishes a little bit dry with a touch of a kind of earthy bitterness. The kicker, though, is that when it's put into this bottle, it's actually bottle conditioned, meaning that they're going to add a little bit more yeast, but also a semi-wild yeast called Brettanomyces into the bottle. So as this bottle is shipping to us or stored at a store or stored here, it's evolving. And even on the bottle, it says continuously evolving. So the Brettanomyces, which we lovingly call Brett, is consuming more sugars, creating CO2, a little bit of alcohol, but these wonderful, vibrant, funky, kind of rustic characteristics that you typically would associate with a beer like Orval.
Something not maybe everyone realizes that much of the beer you drink is alive.
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
It is still evolving, as you said.
Absolutely. I mean, it's very few craft beers that are pasteurized to kind of kill everything in it, or even sometimes filtered. You see, this is unfiltered, unpasteurized, living beer. It's actually, they were ready to do this because of, they knew they had the right bottle. You see, this bottle is kind of interesting. It's reinforced, it's a little bit thicker because, excuse me, with the re-fermentation going on in this bottle, you're building up pressure. So you want to make sure that you can withstand some of that pressure. It's cool. And really, each one should be slightly different based on what happens in the bottle.
That Belgian note for sure.
Belgian, but then there's something else. You know, it's got this kind of like strawberry-ish quality. There's a sort of like, almost like leather note to it, really grassy,
yeah, the grass,
earthy, you know.
Grass comes through.
And then dry without being bitter, I would say. You know, it's almost like a tannic effect rather than a hop bittering effect, punch in the finish. It's amazingly balanced and it's cool. And so it's called Rayon Vert, which is, you know, French for green ray or green flash. So this is their homage to not just Belgium, but the French-speaking southern Belgians who are called Wallonians and their farmhouse brewing traditions.
A lot of brewers here in the United States, as you mentioned Orval, one of your favorite beers of all time. These brewers come along and they want to make a beer in that style, pay tribute to their favorite beer, but I'm sure they don't want to just try to copy it exactly. So how do they go about, you know, keeping that theme, yet kind of going their own way at the same time?
I think it comes down to ingredients. You know, it comes down to the hops you're employing. It comes down to the malts that you're employing, the particular yeast that you're using. And the thing is that yeast is so variable, you can kind of put your own thing on it. And there's countless ways in the brewing process to affect your own change. I mean, you're seeing breweries now. De Molen, this Dutch brewery, is amazing. They made a beer called Vert Vlam, Fire and Flame. It's an American-style IPA brewed in the Netherlands. Well, they had this big festival. Well, they do it every year now, and they invite other brewers to brew that beer. And it's incredible, even if they're doing it pound for pound, like inch for inch, the same exact beer, the little tweaks you make at your brewery will make it a little bit different. Everybody's got their different ways of going about things. And I think in this case, what you see is that the Brettanomyces is going to allow it to evolve differently every time. So it's great. It's like Orval, but it's not Orval. I mean, I would say that actually this beer is a little bit funkier than Orval is when fresh. In the nose. You know, sometimes if you get a beer like Rayon Vert or Orval, what's fun with this is to drink one when you get it and save one for like 6 months. And you'll really see the evolution in the bottle and how different it'll become. And it probably will become kind of funkier, wilder, drier because the yeast will continue to eat the sugars. But it's an amazing beer that will change over time.
Another thing people may not realize so much with beer, and there are different types. In the past weeks, we've talked about beer like Hop Slam that you want to drink right away.
Yeah.
You don't save it. This beer, though, you can age it.
You can, or you can't, but you don't have to. And that's one of the cool things about beer.
Bonus.
You know, and versus say wine is that we love to age beers. We do it at many of our restaurants, but you know, only certain beers do age, as with wine. A very small percentage, as with wine, but even the ones that do age well don't need to. I mean, a lot of wines that we lay down require it. They're so, just think of like a big Piedmontese Barolo, so tannic and sharp when it's young. It needs to age to become as complex as it can be. With beer, on the other hand, it's not that it gets necessarily better, it just kind of transforms. And great both ways, but doesn't need to lay down. And you can make a case for this because of the hop characteristics in it that you might want to drink it a little bit fresher because you don't want to lose the nice hoppy notes. However, because of the transformative power of the wild yeast, it can give you some cool things as it transforms over time.
What do you pair this with?
I love this beer. I don't know why I kind of been thinking about this recently, but sushi, raw fish. To me, it's knockout with it because, you know, raw fish can have a nice bit of rich protein character to kind of absorb some of the bitterness we have. You get a little bit of tartness in the beer, not too much, but a little bit, which is nice to kind of balance against the briny notes of raw fish in general. And then, of course, the kind of rustic characteristics, the pepper, the grass, and the fruit notes kind of dress the fish as well. It's something that can bring seasoning to a simple protein.
Okay. Greg Engert, thank you as always. I'm Brennan Haselton, and be sure to bring your thirst once again next time for another Beer of the Week.